Hey there, I'm Asha Junot, and you're listening to This Hope Podcast. You being here is no small thing, and my hope is to fill your ears and your heart with words that invite us to lean in, stretch out our arms, and take hold of what will satisfy our souls. Wherever you are, wonder, connection, and hope are within reach. Come and see. Hello and welcome to another episode of This Hope Podcast. I'm Asha and I am so glad you're here today. I started this podcast, the very first one, which honestly wasn't that long ago, but by saying that I was nervous. And I'm coming to you again a little bit nervous. I kept thinking about this episode and what I wanted to say, and I kept feeling a little nervous and thinking, okay, whenever I feel ready, I know I'll feel ready to record this at some point, and I will, and it'll be great. And here we are, the night before this podcast is scheduled to post, and I never got that perfect feeling. And you know what? I think that really never comes, right? Anytime we do something that requires faith or requires us to get out of our comfort zones, we're never going to feel perfectly ready, right? So here I am coming to you not perfectly ready, but very excited. Today, I want to tell you a story. I love story and I love the power of story. Our stories connect us. Our stories are really all we have. At the end of the day, our stories are all we have to give to one another. I think back to the first disciples and the truth that stories are how the gospel spread throughout the world. That these men simply told stories. And these women, I think about the woman at the well who had an encounter with Jesus. She was forever changed. And what did she do? She went and she told someone. She went and told a lot of someone's, come and see. She shared her story. And that's what the disciples did. And people began to know Jesus through story. They didn't have the Bible. They didn't have devotionals. They didn't have the Bible app on their phone. They didn't have some perfect Instagram graphic of a Bible verse to share. They had stories, their own stories of what they really experienced. And so that's what I'm coming to you with today. And I feel like today is really going to feel like a conversation where I just get to sit down with you over lunch or coffee or tea or on our back porch, whatever it is, and just kind of share with you like the state of my soul. I have shared this story now with some dear friends who are my prayer warriors, my best friends, my girls that I just love to share life with. And so that is what I think today is going to be with you. Just me sharing this story. And it's a story that I'm in the middle of. It's kind of a new thing. It's not like, oh yeah, let me share this story from my past. No, this is something I'm experiencing. And maybe that's why it feels a little jittery, because I'm just inviting you in. I'm just inviting you into the state of my soul as it is right here. You may or may not know that the journey to motherhood for me has been the thing that God has most used to draw me to himself. Our journey to our son was 70 months, 6 years of grief and hope and grief and hope and grief and hope. And I say 70 months because if you've ever experienced infertility, or if you know someone or love someone who has, you know that time is measured in months, in cycles. grief and hope over and over. This hope for life and then crushing death, hope for life and crushing death over and over and over again. And we experienced that for 70 months, for 6 years, waiting for our son. And when our son came along, oh, tears fill my eyes as I think about that time. Because what came after we brought our son home was the exact opposite of what the 70 months that came before it were. The best way I can think to describe the time after we brought our son home was just pure worship. Life felt like worship. Every breath, praise. I remember thinking, I don't even feel like I need to do a quiet time because every moment of my day feels like quiet time. It feels like every moment of my day is just praise and prayer and worship and thanking God over and over and over again for this exceedingly and abundantly above and beyond incredible gift that I could never even ask or think or imagine. And about a year after he was born, the desire for another baby began to take root in my heart and my mind again. This thought of, I think it might be time to grow our family again. And that thought was scary because of what we had walked through before. But yet I was hopeful. We didn't feel peace about pursuing fertility treatments or pursuing adoption again. We were just hoping that God would do things in a new way, do this time differently. But as the months and the cycles ticked on, I felt that frantic energy again. I began to feel the devastation every month, every period. Death, 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 over and over and over again. And it felt like this black cloud in an otherwise sunny and perfect sky. And I began to be so exhausted. And it was all consuming once again, and I hated it. I hated it, but I felt like I couldn't stop it. I didn't know what to do. So we continued to trudge on through infertility again. And if you have experienced infertility or know someone who has, it's hard to describe the devastation, the complete devastation and crushing that comes with the start of a period. It's so hard to put into words. I actually wrote a poem about it. It's my best attempt to put to words what it feels like, what the different waves of emotions feel like throughout the course of a cycle. And I just wanted God to do the impossible. And I was exhausted and devastated and crushed over and over and over again. And things kind of took a turn for the worse. Last year in August, I had to have surgery for fertility-related issues, and it really sent me spiraling. I had wanted God to fill my life with womb before this surgery was necessary, and it didn't happen. And I was so exhausted, and I was so over it. The grief and hope, the grief and hope, the grief and hope. The hope was killing me. I was so mad and frustrated that I had hope every month. I berated myself. You stupid idiot. How could you have hope? How could you have hope? But there is always hope. And I hated it. I resented the hell out of hope. I got to a pretty rough place at the end of last year, and I begged God for mercy. I didn't know what this new year would hold, but I needed it to be different. I love a word of the year, and God gave me the word rest at the end of 2022 as a lens through which to see 2023. That is what I believe these words of the year are. When God gives us a word as we seek Him and just start to have our spirits and hearts open to what God is showing us, and words that pop up over and over in devotionals and Bible verses through trusted friends. That is what rest was for me at the end of last year. It was so clear that God had rest for me for 2023, and I didn't know what that would look like. But the verse that God kind of spoke over my year was from Matthew 11:28-30. That is the verse that I have just clung to this year, and it is Jesus saying, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Come to me and you will find rest for your souls. So I just held on tight to that, not knowing what that meant. And as the year started, my son was having trouble sleeping and was getting up in the middle of the night again. We were also watching my parents' dog for a few months while they were out of the country. And 2 dogs is a lot of dogs, and there was no physical rest happening in my life at the beginning of 2023. I was not sleeping. I was exhausted all the time. Like, okay, well, I guess we can cross that one off the list. So physical rest is out. I was still feeling just mentally and emotionally exhausted over our fertility journey again. I was kind of at the end of my rope and just honestly like laughing, that sad laughter of like, I don't know what the heck is going on. Laughing about the fact that my word was rest. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's happening. And my period was just continued to be devastating and crushing and exhausting. And like I said, it was this dark cloud. And so I really just began begging God for this to be over, for this crushing, exhausting, debilitating cycle of grief and hope, grief and hope, grief and hope to just be over. I just wanted it to be over. Like I said, the hope was honestly just, it was killing me. I wanted it to be over, and I really thought over would only come one of 2 ways. Either I would be pregnant or I would have a complete hysterectomy. I am not joking when I say that. I say that with every ounce of sincerity, that I was praying that God would just stop this and stop it for good. I didn't want to have hope anymore. I thought, God, pregnancy or hysterectomy, make it stop. I thought that rest would only come with a definitive resolution. Either yes, pregnancy, or a complete and total no, never through a hysterectomy. But on Mother's Day weekend, I was a couple days into my period, and I got a couple hours alone. I was sitting with Jesus doing a devotional, and I had this thought that I know was not from my own mind, because I would never think this, because it just has been for so long. I had this thought creep in of, what if this isn't your trial right now? What if this isn't your trial anymore? And I'm going to be real honest, my first emotional response to that was anger. What in the world have I been going through all of this for then? But I feel like God's Spirit just so sweetly came again and said, what if this isn't your trial right now? What if starting right now, this isn't your trial? What if a period was just a period? And I know that may sound silly, especially if you've never experienced infertility or walked alongside anyone who has, but for a period to just be a period is laughable. And for the better part of 9 years, a period has not just been a period for me. A period has been death, 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 over and over and over and over and over and over and over, where I had wanted life. Crushing, devastating death over and over. And so for a period to just be a period was almost just inconceivable. I don't even know what that meant or what that would feel like. And as I sat with these questions for the next few days, what if this isn't your trial right now? What if you weren't devastated and crushed? What if soul rest was yours right here, right now? Not with a resolution, not with a pregnancy or a hysterectomy, but right here, in the midst, in the middle, by coming to Jesus. Come to me, and I will give you rest. I don't know if you've ever had braces, but I had braces in high school, and I so clearly remember after I got my braces off, I licked my front teeth constantly. I don't know, for weeks or months, or I don't know what it was. And I know that sounds weird, but if you've had braces, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just this weird feeling for these things that you've had on your teeth for so long to just be gone. Like, it was one way for a very long time and you got used to it, and now it's a different way, and it's strange. Like, you're just licking your teeth. They're so smooth. I have teeth there. What in the world is this? After this soul rest revelation, I was metaphorically licking my teeth for weeks. Like, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. This black cloud that had been hanging around for so long was swept away. I left conversations with friends who were pregnant or friends with newborns not feeling exhausted and drained. I just kept licking my teeth and checking this and testing it, like, is this real? Am I really feeling this? Do I really have soul rest right now? And I did. And I knew that the real test would come when my period started. And I just kept thinking about my period starting, and usually within my cycle, even a couple weeks before my period started, in the week or so leading up to it, I would think about it starting, and I would start to feel the devastation and the crushing already. I would get this just frantic energy, just feeling so exhausted and so ready for it to just be over. Like, let's get this over with. Like I said, I shared this with some friends over the course of this past month or so, and one of my friends put it in a really great way. She was like, "It's like you're, coming up to the counter at an office, like, hello, is anybody here?" And there's like an out of office sign on the counter, like, "Oh, okay, the emotions of devastation and exhaustion are not here. Like, I guess I don't feel this. Like, I'm tapping on a microphone, like, hello, can anyone hear me? I'm about to start my period." And nothing. Soul rest. And my period started, and it was just a period. And that was mind-blowing. I laughed out loud. Because like I said, for the better part of 9 years, a period had not just been a period. And I just cried tears of joy because God showed me there is another way. I thought soul rest would only come at the end with a resolution, either pregnancy or hysterectomy, a clear yes or a clear no. That's the only way soul rest would come. And God showed me there is another way. Soul rest is ours right here in the midst. Soul rest comes from coming to Jesus. Come to me and I will give you rest. That is the promise of Jesus. That is a promise from the one who is perfectly faithful. Soul rest is the gift of imperfect faith. Because that is what all human faith is imperfect. None of us can have perfect faith. We never will. We've never been able to. We will never have perfect faith. But we can have imperfect faith in the perfectly faithful one. And the perfect gift of our imperfect faith is soul rest. Right here, right now, wherever you are, physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, soul rest is available to you. It's not a magic trick. It's not a formula. And I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, because for me, it sure didn't. But God knows what is best. And He knows how much wrestling we need to be able to grow our faith. Like a butterfly breaking out of its cocoon, like it's got to wrestle. It's got to wrestle out so its wings are strong enough. Like God knows how much wrestling we need. And all we have to do is keep coming to Him in our wrestling, and soul rest is ours. Come to me and you will find rest. And I wanted to share this today because I want this for you. I want this for you because I know it is yours for the taking. Wherever you are, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, turn to Jesus. And know that soul rest is the perfect gift of your imperfect faith. Today is the day, friend. This Hope podcast is a series on the Wellspring, Pensacola podcast. You can expect new episodes right here on the 1st, 3rd, and 5th Tuesdays of every month. If you'd like to connect in between, you can find me on Instagram at Asha Junot. That's ASHAJUNEOH, or at ashajuno.com. Until next time, sending you hugs and hope.